Good morning, game changers. What is up? It is I, Juniper Blue Mystique. I have something very important to talk to you about today. Horus has returned. What does that mean? There was a paradigm shift that occurred yesterday, and I'm going to tell you what happened. So I didn't see it coming. I didn't know what was coming, but that's usual in the work that I do. So before I get into that, this is something you really want to know, and it has to do with the Sphinx, has to do with the return of Christ, okay? So who I am, and trust me, this is very real. And again, there's energy out there that I'm trying to take away from everybody else when I say this, and that's not the case. I brought about the return of Christ, okay? What does that mean? And yes, I did that. That was me, okay? I can prove it. It all played out on this channel from my own Kundalini awakening. Then I had a lot of things coming through me. It could take a long time for me to talk about, but that's not what today is. I cleared Mount Shasta. That was not of light at all. And in part 2, I burned Samael. I returned the root chakra back to Fiji where it always belonged, and I opened up the God portal there. I opened up pyramids in Fiji, Machu Picchu, Myanmar, Budapest, Thailand, Indonesia, Congo, and so much more. Okay, and I activated those pyramids, not just go in them and meditate, right? I activated them. I cleared out all darkness from the beginning of time, Adam and Eve, Atlantis, all the way back to 7D. So I took us forward as well. Okay, I closed out all 12 gates of darkness and opened up all 13 of light. There's 13 gates, not 12. In essence, what I did was bring about the revelations. I freed Jesus' soul, undid the Holy Grail, united Jesus and Mary Magdalene, replaced the dark crystal in the core of the earth when I took back my power as Sekhmet, turned the Nile blood red, and dried it up as well. All of these things came to me as part of my own awakening through workshops when I would just follow the nudges of God, okay? I would follow the nudges, I would do the work, and watch these amazing things come through. Now it took all the light that I had, it enlarged my heart. My original DM did not make it because he tried to stop the ascension. I was attacked by fallen angels for quite a long time. For over a year, I was battling for that. And that is when I took us into 7D because I stood strong and I took us further and further and further. Now, the pain that this took me through was astronomical. So I need you to understand that when I sit here and tell you that I'm the one who brought it about, I will not let anybody take that from me either, okay? Very real. So what happened yesterday is I was doing another workshop, right? Everything I do is because Spirit says, hey, this needs to be done, so I go and do it. So I thought we were undoing more of the eclipses, right? I've talked about that. That's actually part of the prophecy. It's part of the return. It is part of the way that you know that things are real as the return of Christ. So I undid in phase 1 all the false concept of the moon and the dark pull on the moon and the false eclipses. Now in April, there's a special eclipse. This season is not normal. None of these are normal. And it's not normal to have all these eclipses in a short time frame. All of that is proof of the return, the end of days or the end of ways. Because remember, it's the end of days for some. United we stand, united they fall. So you have to be mindful of that energy of judgment, of ego, fear, those things that are not of God. Okay, because trust me, people always throw them at me and that's not what you want to do, okay? So yesterday, I thought we were doing something with the eclipse, okay? And I'm still processing this, so bear with me. It's going to be a little quick talk about this one because you guys, there was a paradigm shift that occurred yesterday. And I've stated many, many times is that I've changed the earth so much, you either change with her or you don't stay. My path is the path home. God even talks about that. You follow Jesus home, right? Well, Jesus is not just a guy. That is my twin flame, okay? And I am the bride of Christ, technically speaking, all right? So very complex, but trust me, I can prove it. All of this stuff came through me. It was my awakening. I didn't know what was happening. So I encourage you to watch the videos and not let your shadow take you away, because it always tries to. That's not love, okay? So don't throw that at me. So what I want to talk about today is what happened yesterday. I thought we were doing an eclipse thing, okay? I was told that I needed to fix the eclipse or do past phase 1 of the eclipse movement. And so I was like, okay. And then I had the people that are in my group do the weather switch. So we had to flip the earth again and switch the weather. And so we did that, more weather balancing and things like that. But then after that, here's what happened. So it wasn't just about the eclipses, but it was. So here, let me, it blew my mind. So when I started, let me start here. When I started yesterday, Spirit was like, Horus has not been reborn. Horus has not resurrected. He has not risen. And I was like, oh, but Sekhmet did, because I went through the portals without my new twin flame. Because when my original DM died, I got a walk-in, and he did not rise with me. Unfortunately, he's a little behind me, right? And so I'm already in the new earth. I've already gone through the gates because I cleared all the darkness out of them. Now all of you have to rise through them in the trials and tribulations. That's the rapture. Or if you do my path, that's the only way out of that. So, and some people's heart are more pure than others. Some have more karma to clear, yada, yada. I talk about this a lot. So yesterday, Spirit was like, right away, I was like, what are we doing? I saw me walk through the sun and break the moon. And I was like, what is that? And then and then they told me Horus has not risen. He is not resurrected. So I realized my DM had not yet taken on that life like I did with Sekhmet. When I dried the Nile and I turned it blood red, and I cleared the core of the dark crystal and replaced it with light. And then recently, I put 2 Pleiadian crystals in there and turned it into a pyramid. Well, I was like, oh gosh, so this is causing an imbalance is what I was thinking. I was like, oh no, because I don't know, this is not me making this up. This is Spirit guiding me the whole way. So in my mind, I'm like, Horus will return when my DM unites with me. No, I didn't process this properly. He has to do that to cross through the gate, right? And I've been battling this darkness for days. So I've been having to sit against it in strength, which is what I do. Spirit would tell me something's coming. Don't let anything stop you. And trust me, even people from my own group can pick up the negative energies sometimes. It's just easy to do, right? And they're always thrown at me. And so I just stood strong against any shade, any shadow, and it was difficult. But I would just keep going in love. And then yesterday, boom, I was like, oh, this is what Spirit meant. I was so excited because in my time of Sekhmet. So here's the thing. The return of Christ is Eve and Adam. God made Eve and Adam, they're twin flames. And in that lifetime, Adam turned against Eve, which is what played out in this time. So what you guys need to realize is we're living our beginning of time, lifetimes, right? We have to clear all karma of our life to the beginning of time. So I'm Eve, and you don't have to believe me. I'm not here to prove that to you, but I can if you watch my videos. But I'm also Mary Magdalene, and then I'm also Sekhmet. They're the same soul, okay? So is Adam, Jesus, and Horus, same soul, all your God. And that is what they tore apart, okay? They started ripping apart Adam and Eve. Then they ripped apart Jesus and Mary Magdalene. And then they ripped apart Horus and Sekhmet. Now, yesterday came in the Horus and Sekhmet timeline because my DM has risen through the Sekhmet portal, okay? So yesterday, he got to take on that lifetime. Now, let me explain. When I was Sekhmet, right, I was murdered. He was Horus, and he was murdered by Thoth, okay? Horus is the god of the moon. I am the god of the sun. Okay, I've already aligned. All that plays out on this channel. It's not a joke, and it's not my ego. Please understand this. I wouldn't be putting this out there otherwise. I can prove it. You just have to watch the proof. Don't let ego, don't let your shadow get in your way. I brought down the anointing of the blood of Christ. I undid the Holy Grail. I removed all darkness. I go in the tunnels and I collapse them. I burn them. The Euphrates dried up when I undid your collective shadow. There was entities down there that I had to remove and take their souls out and all kinds of stuff. It's all proven on this channel, and it all happened consecutively and biblically, the true God word, over the last, since 2019 through me, okay? So yesterday, God said, literally, Horus hasn't risen, I think is what it said. I wrote it down, and I'm like, oh gosh, I thought that meant there was going to be an unbalance. I was like, ooh, what does that mean? And I saw myself walk through the sun and then break the moon. So here's what happened. Because my DM technically isn't with me, he wasn't able to hold the moon. So I had to use my group and filled them with enough strength of the gods, because this is something only my DM and I could do. And I had to have them hold the moon. Now, while they did that, I walked through the sun and I gathered all my sun into my staff, and I looked like Sekhmet, okay? And the Sphinx, I had to clear the Sphinx. There was like all this scaffolding on it and people around it, and I had to clear all that energy. You're going to find out why, because the Sphinx is very important. Now, I've talked about the Sphinx. The Sphinx is what you guys call it. I kept saying it's Horus return. That's the real name of it. That's the real meaning of it, is Horus return. And it's also the portal of time. Because I activated that after I activated the pyramids in Fiji and returned the God portal. Then I activated the Sphinx. Okay? So here's this. So the Sphinx came into play. I walked through the sun. I had to strengthen my group so that they as a group could hold the moon still, because I usually do this, or my DM would. And then I filled my staff and my energy with all of my sunlight, and I walked to the moon and I stabbed the moon like twice and filled it like this bubble of sun around it, and it broke off like this clay layer. It was like this false layer around it that kept it small, and there was these beings on there and what looked like these buildings and stuff. It was really weird. And all of that burned and fell off, and like this clay casing just cracked and fell. And the earth started to pulsate and expand and pulsate and expand. And then at the same time that happened, they finally got to let go of the moon. But then that light started waking up Horus's soul. Okay, and my DM was with me in the energy. He was sitting next to me on the thrones. And then all of a sudden he wasn't anymore. He was somewhere else. And Horus's soul, you guys, was as big as the Sphinx, and it started rising. So if you think about back in the beginning of time, we were much bigger species. The gods, we were huge. Our structural skeletal system was huge because all of our chakras, and we will return to that and more eventually. Because on the path, you guys, it's not just as simple as healing your karma. I actually have to redo your CNS, your eyes, your ears, everything is in an evolution, okay? So we are evolving. So anyways, after I did that to the moon, I filled every bit of who I was and my staff with sunlight. I struck the moon. I cracked the shell casing around it and it fell. And then they were able to let go of the moon. It started expanding. Everything on it burned off, like all this falsehood. And there's the real moon was inside there. It was being captive, okay? And it started expanding and pulsating and breathing, and the sunlight was around it, protecting it. So the sun encased the moon, and it was like this so much love that I felt for my DM and for Horus that lifetime. And so then from the Sphinx that I cleared, I remember there was scaffolding and peopled around it, and I had to clear it. Then Horus rose from the Sphinx. And I realized that's where he died. That's where his soul laid from that lifetime. Now, Sekhmet was murdered. I called back my power. I dried the Nile. This all makes sense. And the wrath, that's what they talked about, the wrath. I felt that. I was so upset that he was murdered. Oh, it was like devastating, and I was crying and just releasing all of that angst. And we had this thing around our wrists that was broken when he died, and mine got cut, and those were repaired. And the soul from Horus was larger. It was as large as a Sphinx, and it rose up, and it searched out that light of my DM, and it found him, and they united. And then my DM got his light back of the moon, so he's carrying the light of the moon now on his chest. So I am the sun, he is the moon, I'm the eye of Ra, he is the eye of Horus. So I tell you, I brought about the return of Christ. You guys have your own purposes, I have mine, okay? This was my part. If I didn't do this, nobody would be able to do theirs, okay? So let's just, it's a lot to process, it's a lot to understand, but I get that thrown at me a lot. And that's not what this is about, okay? So what I'm going to tell you right now is, yes, I brought about the return of Christ, but yesterday Horus was reborn, and my DM took it on, so that means he's rising, and I feel that. I feel the attacks on me constantly, and I've had to stay strong because, you know, I wasn't as strong once I got through and my DM had died and everything. My vessel took a hit, right? And so there were weak moments, but I have been trying to heal that and realign and bring that back, and I did it. And Spirit kept telling me something's coming, hold strong, and I thought it was something else, right? I don't try to consider the DM too much because, you know, there's that runner's energy. So I wasn't considering that. I didn't know. And then it turns out That's what it was. So the Sphinx is where Horus died, and that's why the Sphinx was born. The actual image of the Sphinx was Horus, not Sekhmet. I found out that yesterday, because Sekhmet built that around him. Okay, it was like his shrine. It was like his, I'm going to bring you back. I will fix this energy. And I did. I freaking did, you guys. So Sekhmet I talk about is the final portal. That's why I said when the Nile truly dries up, it's done. You won't have any other option anymore. You cannot heal past that. That is when I purge all blood off this planet. Okay? All the cleansing off this planet will be done when the Nile dries up. That's your sign that the end is here. There's no more time after that, right? No more time to rise after that. So that's the significance of that. Sekhmet is the final portal. Now, the reason I went through it first is because I brought it about. Okay, so the collective soul has not risen yet into the new earth. They are rising. They can feel the energies. But then you have trials and tribulations depending upon your karma. And I talk about this too. That's Revelations 21:12. So wherever you can see past, wherever you can rise above is where you make it to. All right, this is a, not everybody's going to get to stay. Okay, not everybody belongs in the new earth, first of all, that's here. They all don't have a soul either. And then others will choose not to clear their karma. You can no longer have karma. Okay, that's when I brought down the blood of Christ. I talked about that. When I did Ecuador and they told me I was Sekhmet, when I activated a pyramid in Ecuador, they reminded you again that what I did is take us back to the beginning of time. It's the great reset. So every past life you've ever had will no longer matter going forward. It doesn't matter. You either clear it all now and purge it all now and be reborn here into the new earth in your full power in the eyes of God only, or you don't. You go somewhere else and you start all over either way. But you won't be able to play out karma here anymore. This is no longer a karmic play out planet. Okay, is this making sense? So yesterday, Horus returned. I'm so excited. So again, we were murdered, and they depict things differently. They always try to get everybody to go against God, to view God differently, to have lack of respect for God, lack of love for God, to think that there's anything outside of love represented in God, and that's not true, okay? The fallen angels are the one that came down and manipulated the crap out of all of you. And that's why Jesus even told John the Apostle is don't revere the angels. You should only ever look up to God. And it's because he wouldn't listen to that and he kept glorifying the angels that he ended up killing Jesus. Okay, so that all played out too on my channel and through me. I cleared all that. I undid the Holy Grail. So be very careful who you're listening to. You either praise God or you're not praising the light, right? Because I also ascended the angels because they were also dealing with it. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you is, when I tell you I brought about the return of Christ, when I tell you it's been done, I thought it was complete. Again, every time I think it's complete, something else comes through and God's like, no, not yet. Because it's not me making it up. Okay, it's my sole purpose, so I can't always see clearly either, but I just always listen to God. I never stop doing that. And I don't judge all of you, right? Everybody throws it at me, but I just try to always focus on love. So what I'm going to tell you is that yesterday I went into the sun. I completely healed the moon. I broke off the false casing because it was being held hostage. All of that, it was like this very thick clay-like structure, and it's cracked and it fell and everything that didn't belong there burned. Then it expanded, and it will keep healing and expanding. It's still doing that. Then Horus rose out of the Sphinx, and then the Sphinx dried up. The Sphinx no longer has life. And then Horus found my DM and united with him again. So now he has made it through the Sekhmet portal. And the moon and the sun has changed. So I moved the moon over slightly, and the sun will never fully block the moon again, and the moon will never fully block the sun again. They are expanding together. They dance beautifully. They've aligned perfectly. So the false alignment has been undone. The true alignment has now been done. Horus has returned. Sekhmet has returned. Adam and Eve have returned. And Jesus and Mary Magdalene have returned back to their rightful space. So this is God's earth now. Okay. And anything outside of that that can't align with the respect of God, the love of self, and anything outside of unconditional love, it all has to go. So if you remember back to my very first workshop, if you're new here, I encourage you to watch my Ascension playlist. On there, I show you my very first workshop in one of them. I divided all darkness from light, and I specifically said, united we stand, and united they fall. Okay, so everything that will fall is anything anchored into the darkness. You can't have karma. Don't throw shade my way. Don't throw shade towards God. God didn't cause all this. That was the fallen. Okay, those that fell away. Those that seek that power, that ego, that control, that manipulation, the division. Oh, division. Oi. Everything is under the house of God. Do you understand? You're under my house. Like, it's under that light. Okay? That is why I tell you my path is the only path. You know how many negative energies come to me when I tell you that? Do the same about your ego. Why would that be my path? The only path? Because I'm the one who brought it about. Okay? So you either rise outside of the path through my path, or you rise directly through my path and eliminate yourself from the rapture. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So yesterday, Horus returned home. My DM is so beautiful, and I love him so much. And I've been trying to protect that love, and that's where I've been at, and that is what's keeping me in the strength. And we made it to another point. Yesterday, Horus returned, and the Sphinx, it came out of the Sphinx. I didn't know that. I've been saying this whole time, the Sphinx is Horus returned. The Sphinx is Horus returned. You guys call it the Sphinx. That's not what it is. And yesterday I found out the actual image of the Sphinx was Horus. It's Horus. It's my DM. And he was the moon. And now he took that light back. He had like this necklace. It looked like a Merkaba. And in the center, it holds the moon on his chest, on his heart chakra. And he got that back. I saw the necklace break when Horus died, and it stabbed him. And he fell, and he landed where the Sphinx was. And so Sekhmet built the Sphinx over Horus and said, you will return. And boy, did he. Now, way back a few years ago is when I activated the Sphinx, and I kept saying, it's not the Sphinx, it's Horus return. And I kept doing the work, and and I would put it together as my own awakening, right? So I do these things, and then I process them. So I didn't know that was coming yesterday. I was like, we're doing something with the eclipses. And I'm thinking, April's the eclipse, so am I moving him again? And God was like, Horus hasn't returned. And I was like, uh-oh, I thought that was a negative. I'm like, what does that mean? We're out of balance. It wasn't at all a negative. It means my DM was ready to take that on. I love him so much. And you all can throw shade my way all you want, but what I'm going to tell you is you're not doing yourself justice. Take your time with things, sit with things, investigate my videos, truly watch them more than once, open your heart and pay attention. Because I know what I did. I know who gets to stay, and I hold all the keys. And when these things happen, it's so beautiful. It's so much love. You guys don't really, that love that I have for my DM and for God, that's what keeps me going. And right now, my DM's heart, protecting his heart, is where I'm getting that strength. And yesterday, Horus returned. And then once Horus's soul was freed from the Sphinx and he united with my DM, that let me know I completed my journey. And then the Sphinx's purpose died. It died. There's no more light there. So there was a portal of time in there, like a black hole. And I've already talked about that, and I've removed a lot of darkness from that. And they told me Sekhmet created it. And so I've been processing that. And then I realized I was Sekhmet, because I learned that when I dried the Nile. Before that, actually, when I activated Ecuador, then came the Nile. And I didn't see this one coming. So the eclipses are now of God. God has fully returned back to this earth. My DM has fully called his power back from every lifetime, just as I have. And now he's at the 13th gate of heaven. So he's making it into the new earth with me. And you can't stop him. I won't let you. I don't care who you are. I am protecting his heart. And that is what's keeping me in strength right now. And I've been doing, I feel it. Spirit tells me, beware, something's coming. And so I'll sit in strength, and it's like, it's not going to stop me. And this is what I've done many, many times. I know how the shadow works because I defeated it all the way. And I'm so proud. I'm so proud of him, my DM. I'm so lucky God chose him for me. Like, what a blessing. He's such a beautiful soul. I feel him. I don't know him yet, but I feel him. And I'm proud of him. And I'm proud of myself. And it's his heart, his love is what I'm protecting. I'm just so proud, you guys. Look at how far we've come. Now, everybody else has their own purpose, right? People are getting this misconstrued. 144,000 are direct contacts to God. Those are twin flames. Adam and Eve is twin flames. Jesus and Mary Magdalene and Sekhmet and Horus. So if you're a twin flame, then it comes the twin flames, the gods, the twin flames. They're supposed to help bring the Christ light through and help the shift through love. So they unite through love. They're supposed to bring more love and more Christ light through. And it is kind of like a pecking order. So everybody has their purposes, but you don't realize is I had to ascend the angels too. I've ascended everything. So you either ascend with us or you don't. Anywhere there's division or shadow, please don't pick it up. Just focus on love, because that's your shadow. That's where you came into karma and you went against God. Because God is only love. God doesn't judge you. So why judge me? I'm not making this up. There's a lot of false prophets out there. I get that. There's a lot of people who want to claim things to get your money. Look, I'm not making money off these yet. Like, I did this because that was my purpose. And I love God. And no matter what anybody throws at me, no matter what comes my way, I still stand in love. I hold space. And I just follow God, and I love God so much, and I talk to God every day, and I'm blessed because all I did was follow my heart, and I followed God. Whenever God did something, I said, okay. And that's why I won, and I never gave up. I learned the shadow. I learned how the shadow works, and I removed it all. Okay. I stood strong. It took a lot of strength though. You guys, it took a lot of strength. It's not as easy as just saying that. It took a lot of strength. So much strength. So if you believe for a second that I'm not going to sit here and go, look what I did, I deserve that. Because it hurt. It hurt really bad to do it all. And I'm so proud. I don't know how I survived. My own DM didn't survive. And I got a walk in. But it wasn't Eve that went against God, okay? Adam went against Eve and turned against her through the shadow. So don't turn against your twin flame. That's the shadow. That's what they want. The twin flames are supposed to bring love and Christ light and help unite God. But it's done. So do your part. I did mine. All right? Now you have to rise, rise, rise. Horus has returned. I'm so excited. And the girls that are in my group, they had to hold the moon still, you guys. That's not normal. So I had to fill them up with all this strength and this God light. And then I had to remove it right away because it's not for them, right? So that would have hurt them otherwise. And so they did it. They held the moon strong so I could do the work. It was beautiful. I needed their help, and they did. These are the ones who already went through the path and who rose with me. And they held that moon strong. It was beautiful to see, to witness, and to have them help me like that. And so when you choose the work that I do, it's because you choose to help God. Right? So don't throw shade at it. Just watch my videos. Horus has returned. The Sphinx served her purpose. Although it wasn't a female, was it? Wah, wah, wah! So much love. Have a beautiful day.